Something else. Yeah, I'm on record. Okay. I'm going to talk about something else because it's on my heart, and I'm going to be talking about this kind of stuff to help women. What do you do when your dad disowns you? Okay, so I grew up thinking, I think my father is my father. I think he is. Okay, I grew up thinking he was my father. I do remember seeing a picture of my mother. My mother showed me a picture of, I can hear someone's keys again. I think it's the neighbor. A picture of her with a guy with blonde hair. Um, they were in a carriage. I don't know the whole story. I don't know why she showed it to me. We used to look at pictures together once in a blue moon together. So I thought my dad was my dad, right? And I have always thought my father was my father. Well, in my other video, I talk about when a father hates you. And so he had disowned me too. I forgot this side of the story that I want to share. He totally disowned me. So this was when I had my fourth son. So this was in 2003, so a long time ago. He disowned me. He slammed the door on my face. Before that, I went back because he had disowned me to try to talk to him, and that's when he slammed the door on my face. So basically, this was the stupidest argument, okay? So I don't even, like, I've never really even had much of a conversation with my father growing up. Not really. The biggest conversation I think I had was, what'd you learn in school today? And I would say nothing. And into conversation. He was very busy. There were a lot of hurtful things. Like November 1st, my birthday, every time that rolled around, hunting season, I don't ever remember getting a happy birthday. Never got a gift. Maybe a happy birthday that I can't remember, but never a gift. So it was the time where all the guys came over to the house. My Uncle Bill, when I was younger, my Uncle Steve, but he got kicked out of our life because he was doing cocaine. My Paul, the guy my dad worked for, Paul Champagne, Joe Bodwin, my Uncle Jim Cate, my great Uncle Jim Cate, and whoever else, right? They'd all come over to the house, and this was in Suncook, actually. First, it was in Suncook. I was on Glass Street in Suncook, and right near the bank, the Suncook Bank. And so they would come over, and my mom would take me, and she would usually put on big birthday parties. But my dad was always busy with hunting. So I don't remember that. And then, there was never much from him because I was a girl. My brother's birthdays, guns, etc. Okay, so anyways, growing up, there wasn't much of a conversation. Like I said, he didn't really know how to raise a girl, my mother said. And so one of the things he did that was probably one of the most hurtful things that had happened to me, but not too hurtful because I wasn't that close to him. But even then, for anyone to do this is pretty mean. So he had wanted to take my boys fishing, and I had already let him, grandfather. I guess it wasn't enough. So he had said, I'm taking them fishing. I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket. I'm taking one of them this day, and I'm taking the other one the next time. And I said, you can take this one, but the other one, no, because, he had low muscle tone issues. I knew that, he even had a hard time riding a bike. I knew he'd, have issues. I knew how my dad was. I knew when you went with my dad, you did not go back home. I mean, you started like 6 or something in the morning until all day, until dark. And even then, I just had memories of my brother being like dragged around. I mean, my brother started shooting a bow and arrow and a gun, mostly a bow and arrow, when he was like walking, when he was like, I don't know, 4 or something, 5, 6. So, and I thought he was hard on my brother. I mean, he literally like dragged him along all day long. And when we went ice fishing together, it's ice fishing all day and we don't turn around until we're done. So just knowing this and knowing my son, I was like, no, I don't want you doing, that. And I was nice about it. So he took a fit. He took a fit because I used my judgment as a mother. And he was like, you know what? You're no longer my daughter. He's like, you are no longer my daughter, and they are no longer my grandkids. They are not even my grandkids. So I think there was some truth that came out. And he's like, I only have one grandkid, and that is so-and-so. He's like, she's my real granddaughter, and you are not my daughter, and they are not my grandkids. So that was pretty harsh, right? And thinking about it, maybe I wasn't his daughter. Maybe I truly wasn't. Maybe he was just a stepdad, I don't know. I tend to look like, the Bakers a little bit. So it could have just been done in anger. It could have just been, his way of controlling me. I don't know. So I thought we had already gotten past everything because once I had my son, he had said, I wasn't a very good father. He knew when he threw me after the abortion, he threw me against a door. He could have killed me. He threw me by the hair. My mother's like, oh, that's enough, dear. I mean, this is a 6-foot construction worker, right? So I would go over there despite how my dad treated me and try to honor him. And I went over with my sons. He came over to the hospital. He gave me like this elephant, the first gift I've ever had directly from him. And I was like, what is this? And my mother's like, oh, he got that down at the store. And she's like, and if he gave you something, then he's got to be pretty proud of you if he gave you something. Because he never gave me like anything. So, like, thanks. I had a kid. I didn't really do anything. I mean, it's kind of like my kid, So he gave me this elephant, and it was I was in the hospital 3 days trying to have my son. This was after the abortion, the placenta separated, and I thought I was going to lose him. That is another consequence of abortion. So, I tossed it. When I got home, I was going home, I'm like, I don't want this thing. I just tossed it. It meant absolutely nothing to me after years of, just being neglected and everything. So I just, that kind of came, like, I just didn't want it. And then, I'd still we'd go over for dinner, sit up. I don't want crumbs on the floor. My dad was very picky about messes. I'm like, what? And he's like, sit up to the table more. And have your kids sit up to the table more. And I'm like, they're going to make messes. And he's like, then I have to have the crumbs in the vacuum, sitting in the vacuum. And, just very extreme with wanting his home spotless. And my mom used to have to keep the home spotless pretty much, So, I guess what I'm going to say about this, not to dishonor my parents, it's kind of like, how do you honor your parents when your parents are not always good to you? That is a real tough one. Biblically, we're told to honor our parents. I think I had gotten counsel for this before, and someone said you can honor the position. That's what you can do. You can honor the position. You can be thankful that they had you. I mean, these are your parents. They had you, right? You can honor that. You can be thankful for what they did do for you. But it doesn't take away. It's not, honoring your parents is not do exactly as I say. No, you're an adult. And for me to have done what my father wanted, it would have been to deny God. And God tells us first that we are to honor him above all others. So trying to find ways to honor your parents. I had put on a party for my mother when it was her birthday, which today is her birthday. I had put on a huge party for her. I had gotten all the relatives, well, a lot of them, had, given her letters, had put together like a creative photo album with letters of what we appreciated from my mother. And I had a big party for her. Did the same thing for my in-laws too. I had put on a huge anniversary party for them for their wedding anniversary. Not that that was appreciated, but I did do that. And they were kind of like, you need to honor your parents as soon as we, we're trying to, do life on our own. And I had said, honoring your parents is not doing every little thing you want at every little whim that you want, including they did not want my husband going to church. That is not their call. That's not their call. It's not their call to even run your life when you're an adult. So you got to be able to say, as for me and my household, we're following God. You don't want to follow God, don't. And where does that commandment come from? It comes right from the Bible, right? So if you've got people who don't even want to honor God, they don't believe in the Bible, but yet they'll call on that commandment, right? That when it suits them. I mean, that's not healthy, right? So yeah, my dad disowned me, and it's been years since I've seen him. Years. I don't even know if he's still alive. And I had tried reaching out through my brother to him, and he's been really rotten to me again. So when someone says sorry, I wasn't a very good father, but yet they slam the door in your face and they continue to be rotten to you, you got to let them go. And you just got to be like, I let my father go. It didn't bother me that bad because I wasn't that close to him. But you got to let it go. And so, yeah, I mean, he wanted a relationship with his grandsons without me. And I was like, you're not going to use me. You're not going to use me. You're not going to use me to get to your grandsons. So it takes a strong backbone. And I think if I was to look back on my life, I would have told them, if I had the backbone I have now, I would have told them basically to go screw themselves with the abortion. I would have said, this is my baby, it's my choice, or my right to have my baby, and you don't have a right at all to even do that to me. So, and if I was kicked out as a teenager, I would have still made it. I had a good group of friends. I could have stayed with my friends. In fact, I stayed with my husband at one point because when we were dating, I had a few drinks and I knew that I would be in trouble for having a few drinks. So I stayed over his house until it wore off. And so, I guess I just encourage young girls, teenagers, to have that time to process what is going on. I felt like they were all on me, all the adults. I felt like I had no chance. I felt like I was like this deer where all the lions and everything just drag that deer down until that, the deer keeps running and the deer doesn't have a chance. That's kind of how I felt. So I was a kid. They were adults. They knew better. They took advantage of me completely. So, yeah. So if you're going to get kicked out of your home, so be it. Because later on, if they're trying to do this to you, they will eventually disown you anyways. Okay, thanks for joining me, guys.